Jack's recording this. His award. He's taking the video.
5:30 having arrived, please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Why don't we go up and try to All right. Jack, would you like to come forward, please? I've asked Andy Robinson to read the proclamation. Come on up, Jack.
Yes, we'd like to welcome John Jack Sherburne to the front of the room, please.
Must be somebody's birthday.
I told them the fire budget was up 2%, they were all here.
We'd like to thank the audience and the people that have come tonight to share this Deerfield tradition with a well-known community member who has been part of Deerfield for many years. Not going to say how many, but a good long time. The Board of Selectmen is inviting the community to share in this event with Jack Sherburne and his family. We'll be presenting the Boston Post Kane Award at the beginning of the board meeting, which is now here on the lower level of the George B. White Building. The Kane presenting tradition
Turn it on.
The Kane presenting tradition dates back to the turn of the 20th century when 431 canes were made. The stylish walking sticks were made available to numerous northeastern municipalities by the former Boston Post newspaper. The publisher of the Boston Post established this tradition in 1909. He had 700 canes manufactured and distributed to the Board of Selectmen in the towns of in the states of Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island. They were to be trustees of the cane and keep it always in the hands of the town's oldest citizen. It was originally only awarded to men, but after considerable controversy, women were included for eligibility in 1930. And I can tell you, having presented this award to women and men, the men seem to take it much more willingly and graciously. The idea of having New England selectmen and mayors pay tribute to their eldest citizen by ceremoniously awarding them the canes was originally conceived as an advertising gimmick by then Post editor Edward Grozier. Barring no expense, Grozier reportedly hired a leading cane manufacturer in New York to craft the canes out of African imported wood and to gild the tips of each with 14-karat gold. Grozier also specified that only the finest French varnish was to be used to coat the Post canes, each of which took nearly a year to produce from start to finish. Since Deerfield's cane was lost, a replica was made and put on display to be kept permanently at the town hall with a listing of the recipients. And your name will be added to that plaque, Jack, and I believe Mr. Pittman has something for you as well.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, everybody else, for showing up. But this is to remind you that you are a legend in Deerfield, and we present this to you as 2018 recipient of the Boston Post cane.
Thank you so much. I have a hard time believing I'm the oldest man in town, oldest person, excuse me. I still think Joanne Wasson ought to have this. But,
Don't rush it.
But thank you very much. And the last time, back in the 80s, I think I had the privilege of presenting the cane to Joe Florence. He was 100 years old. Wow. Some of you might remember Joe. But the only other thing I have to say, I really don't want to be considered old. I don't feel old, but I will admit to being elderly. There's a lot of people out here that are in the same category. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
It was a real pleasure.
Thanks, Jack.
No, I can go.
Microphone's over at that table. See, the drinks are on Jack at the Lazy Lion.
Get you on camera, too.
Must be so happy to be back home. Oh, my God.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. We have a speaker for a few minutes. It's Ted Gatzis. Ted, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. For the record, my name is Ted Gatzis. I live at 105 Birchwood Road in Manchester, New Hampshire, and I'm running for executive council. I've just been visiting all the towns and cities in my district, just to let them know that if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I'll be back after the election and give you my card, so in case you have any issues here in Deerfield, you'll be able to call me, and certainly I will hope that I can respond. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions from the council.
Appreciate you coming in and telling us.
Not a problem, anytime. We'll be back if we're successful in November.
Thank you very much, Ted.
Thank you.
John, would you like to handle the IT budget?
I'm going to present the budget for Steve Gemelli, our IT director. Budget's on page 8. There are a number of items that I draw your attention to. First would be the vendor maintenance and support. You'll see that's up $3,621 over last year. That's due to increased fees for the current software support that we have to keep us using the same programming that we have available to us. The second item of note is equipment. You'll see that's up $7,905. That's due to some of the machines that the town currently uses function on Windows 2007. And 2007 will no longer be supported very soon, and those machines will not operate with Windows 2010. So therefore, he's going to have to upgrade certain machines within the town offices in order to function with Windows 2010. So that's why that line is increased over last year.
Excuse me, but I haven't heard a thing. There's so much noise.
Sorry, keep going.
Just wondering, John, do you have an idea of how many machines are going to be updated? $8,000 is a pretty hefty step up to change versions of Windows.
It's 17.
17?
I believe it's in the backup.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Usually Steve is pretty detailed with his information.
So the record shows 17?
Yeah.
Thanks, Fred.
Yes, the backup showing 17 desktop computers, two LCD monitors, and 2 universal power supplies.
So this isn't just backup, these are new machines.
Oh, these desktop computers would be new machines in order to function with
Okay.
2010.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yep.
It seems like a big jump for.
There's quite a few machines involved with that.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Are you going to read for the NBC?
Yes. I talked to Andrea Hodling, who is the newly elected chair of the NBC, and she was uncertain whether or not she'd be able to make it tonight. So she sent me an email to read in her stead if she wasn't here, so I'd like to read that. Thank you for the notification about the 10-1 Board of Selectmen meeting. Unfortunately, I was unaware of this review and presentation of the MBC budget, and I will possibly be out of town on October 1st. Please report to the Board of Selectmen that I was just made aware of the required budget presentation and may be unable to appear in person. Please submit the MBC budget at the same figures as last year's budget lines without any notation that we have reviewed or approved this submission. The MBC will address any proposed changes to the MBC budget as part of the review process of the complete town budget. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, John. Guess we'll save questions for another night on that. Kelly, are you ready? Would you like to go now? Kelly Roberts, the town clerk. I'd just like to start by saying you did a great job Election Day, you and your assistant.
Thank you very much. We were very excited, and it went very well. So I'm very pleased to present my 2019 proposed budget to the board this evening. I'd like to point out right off the bat that it's $13 less than the default budget, and I was able to get everything I was trying to accomplish done in that budget. It is my hope to gain the board's support and the community's support for my budget. You'll see mostly being a newly elected collector, you'll notice that my budget is lower than the default. The changes within the individual lines are more stylistic between the way how I operate compared to the outgoing tax collector. You'll note that under each description I have notated what was changed and if that line has increased or decreased. The main line that I would like to draw the board's attention to is the town clerk full-time employee line. I have included a 5% increase for both myself and my deputy, while still coming in less than the default budget by $62. If the budget is approved in March, the raises would be retroactive to January 1st. I'd just like to say that my deputy, Kim Crotty, has done an amazing job. She had a great review and is a quality employee that we want to retain. The 5% increase for her is based on her outstanding performance, her fantastic review that she had, as well as for successfully completing several crucial trainings so that she can do all the things we do in our office. I'm also very proud of her completing her first year of the 4-year town clerk tax collector joint certification, which is a big deal. The increase in my salary line equates to about 5% as well. I have provided the board with an updated comparable salary list from 10 other towns that are around our population size, our full-time positions, and our combined department like ours. I am 2 departments combined into 1. As you can see from the comparison sheet that I gave you, I am the lowest paid combined town clerk tax collector around. The salary that I'm requesting in my proposed budget is $48,048. That is still on the low side of the scale, and I feel it is very reasonable at this time. And although I'm salaried right now at $45,760 for 40 hours a week, I am easily working 50, 60 plus hours a week and more during peak election times. And
What was the number again, Kelly? 48?
48048 is what I'm trying to
Okay.
move it to.
Thank you.
Got a lot of great plans for 2019. Got a lot done this year. Do you guys have any questions over the specific lines that are changed?
That's great news, the total that you've come in with.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. But this is kind of a unique year where I was able to do that because of the outgoing town clerk, tax collector, and then me coming in as a new, so, I'm always gonna try and maintain a very even budget. But this will, I think, give us both at a pay where we should be at. And I understand that there are some years where this won't be able to happen, but I saw the opportunity here.
Does anybody have any questions for Kelly, Fred, Jeff, Cindy?
I noticed the tax search line was down about $2,500, but based on what we've expended this year plus what it was in 2017, it looks like it's the 3,000 budgeted appears to be a reasonable number.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Andy,
No, okay.
good to go? Thank you, Kelly.
Oh, I have one more thing that's not budget related, really quick.
Okay.
I would like your guys' as a blessing or approval on December 24th, which is Christmas Eve. I'd like to close my office down. Like to take a vacation this year, and to accommodate my holiday and my deputy's holiday travel schedules. That's what we would like. We would advertise it well in advance on all the website, social media, the forum. Just wondering if you guys had any thoughts.
Do you know what day that is?
That's Monday. Monday, December 24th. Christmas falls on a Tuesday.
I don't expect too much things to be happening on
No, it'd be
Christmas Eve.
fine.
Okay, thank you.
Just put some type of notice up
Yes.
ahead of time, please.
Yes, I will.
Thanks, Kelly. Water holes, please.
So, when I was putting the budget together, I asked John that we were just gonna carry the water hole budget as is for this year. I think it's adequate. The line of $1,000 for forest fires, in the spring, we had one forest fire up on Raymond Road, but that was able to be reimbursed by the responsible party, if you will. If we don't have anything this fall that's significant where the state's involved and we get partial funding, I would think that budget would be fine. I know we had a misstep with the warrant article for the water supply, which is a bit of a bummer with respect to the wording. We weren't able to fund that. Kind of connected, looking to put that warrant article again, which would help with the water hole line to continue building water holes and maintaining them.
Okay. Anybody have a question on the water holes?
No.
You
I
want to
don't.
go into the fire/rescue?
Sure. So the proposed 2019 budget is approximately $7,030 above the default budget that we're in currently.
$5,050 of that is directly related to our dues and subscriptions with the Seacoast Fire Chiefs Mutual Aid Group, which provides us with being part of a mutual aid group as well as a hazmat group. And then the firehouse software from this year, which would leave approximately $1,980 of being an increase, which is approximately 7/8%. One significant decrease in a line that'll probably jump out is the PPE line, or the fire rescue protective gear. The default budget is $62,430, looking more towards $26,000, and the rest of that money's been moved around to towards increases in fire hose replacement, electronic equipment, that sort of thing.
Which line was that?
Fire rescue protective gear had been $62,430, which in previous years, I believe that purchased air packs and that sort of thing.
93.
Oh, sorry. One of my concerns looking at the budget with respect to an existing line would be line 660, fire rescue vehicle maintenance and repairs. The current line is $12,280. Earlier in the year, we had to replace the major repairs for the motor and rescue to the Tahoe a couple times, getting through inspection season, still have a couple vehicles to finish up. We have overexpended that line currently. I expect that to continue with the few bills that have to be processed. I think the 15,000 would be a better on average mark. I would hope that next year's maintenance won't exceed that number, but it might be a little more accurate with the age of our fleet.
Okay.
We should get most of the repairs and stuff done now. So
Correct.
You think there's gonna be more repairs to be done next year?
No, that's why I'm saying if on average our budget was 12,280, if this year we were 15,000 where we are now, that does not include the $12,000 for Rescue 2 and the $2,500 that were taken out of that expendable trust already, which is not reflected in the budget.
So if we didn't have the expendable trust, we would have been overspent.
That would have been 14,000 to start January.
Yeah.
This year, the town supported the $20,000 expendable trust. That, I believe the wording was, comes out of surplus, if I remember right. So that, I'm assuming, wouldn't be available till the end of the year to offset the budget. Not sure how that would work.
Anything else, Cindy?
Yeah, the testing of the ladder, the hose, the pump, that's done yearly or every
Yearly.
other year?
Yearly. NFPA recommends yearly. So the pump testing is going to be happening next Friday, and I've scheduled the hose testing and ladder testing for the week after that.
So in the past, this should have been done yearly, not every other year?
That's the guidance I've been given.
Is that through Primex, or where do you get that info?
I was told that was the NFPA recommendation, was every year. Now, NFPA being recommendations, it's the kind of standard to try to achieve.
The, dues and subscriptions to Seacoast Chiefs, what does that give us?
That allows us to belong to a mutual aid group and also our hazmat group. In the past, we have not belonged to a hazmat group, so it gives us a wonderful resource to pull from.
Do they have air trailers or air trucks?
Yes, they do. That does. That's in line with the idea of taking the blast system out of Rescue 2, because on our second alarm assignment, Lee is coming automatically with their air trailer. for if we had an incident where seen, we'd be able, their system actually generates air.
But with the new Cascade system, we wouldn't need them.
No, so the new Cascade system is in the station only. So if we go on a carbon monoxide call or a chimney fire or anything like that, we still need to fill up our air bottles at the station. The air trailer is going to come on a larger event with our second alarm.
So they'd actually bring it right to the scene.
Yeah, so Seacoast Chiefs has 3. There's one housed in Lee, Rochester, and Rye, I believe. And how Seacoast Chiefs is set up, they have designated your primary, secondary, and third, basically, depending on where the town's situated, what they'll assign you for that air trailer. So there'd be, I believe it's the pickup from Lee with 2 firefighters, brings up the trailer, stays with it. However many air bottles you need to fill up at a large fire gets done.
Fred?
We were showing a $10,000 increase in the equipment, electronic, and maintenance. You want to just elaborate on that one?
Yep. So that's in line with the proposed budget from last year. My understanding, if I remember correctly, when the fire and rescue budgets were merged, some lines existed in one budget that weren't quite the same in the other. So with if you look at the backup, it basically covers 4 new pagers, 3 new portables, continue working on some computers and upgrades for actually having a few more computers, a new mobile radio. So basically continue replacing the 20-year-old plus radios that we have in the trucks physically, and then minor line for repairs to pagers, repairs to portables, that sort of thing.
The mobiles have started to be replaced. How many more do we have left to replace?
3, I believe. So it'd be Engine 1, Tank 2, and Forestry 2.
Anybody else? Fred?
Yeah, and let's see, the contract software, we have a $8,000, where we only had $2 for the budget.
Yeah, so that's one of
Cover
those
that.
things that was something in rescue that fire, I think it was just a $1 line, but I broke that out, kind of merged them into that line to include the LifePak 15 maintenance, the Lucas, which is our auto compression device, Firehouse software. Next year, get the inspector module for Firehouse. John Dubianski's taking the fire inspector class in Manchester, so he'll be able to help me with that, and that actually allows him to bring out, through the platform of Firehouse, all the checklists and stuff like that, and it actually provides backup resources. That's what that line would be. The I Am Responding that we use annually. In the air compressor, we replaced the air compressor. For that value, that might be more realistic coming out of the equipment maintenance line than an actual contract.
Anything else, Jeff?
No, I just could follow up on the tanks. Like, if you go to a fire, how
Yes.
how long does the air tank last?
So the air packs, we have 4,500 PSI. They're advertised at 30-minute bottles. You can also buy 45-minute bottle and 1-hour bottle. Obviously, the more you go, the heavier they are. But even that 30-minute really relates to the firefighters' air consumption, the tasks they're doing and that. So, you know, you can shoot for that 30 minutes, but
Might be 20.
yeah.
Yeah, more like 20.
Somebody,
more accurate.
somebody who's used to breathing on air more often and practices it more probably will do more than that. So about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. There is standard practice in the industry, if you will, where you go through, you know, the air pack has a bottle, you change the bottle, so that'd be your second bottle, an hour of operation, if you will. You go to rehab, then if you're cleared, you can go back. We have enough spare bottles for 1 round of rotation if all our air packs were used, and then we are out of air. So if all the fire trucks showed up and we had enough people to use everything, then we could, you know, everybody could get through 1 round, and then we're out of air. Then you also have Raymond, Candia, any town that comes in, they're going to use their air. I want to say Candy has 45-minute bottles. I'm not sure about everywhere else. 30 minutes is usually typical around here that I've noticed.
How many certified firefighters do we have that can actually put on a bottle and go in a house? Just, you don't have to be, just ballpark.
I don't have a roster in front of me, so it's going to be kind of shooting from the hip. I would comfortably say 14 or 15, if they're all available and around and active.
Yep.
Anything else, Cindy?
I'm good.
Good for now? You know,
Oh, I'm good.
you ready for the budget committee?
Oh, I'm sure they'll have some questions.
Thank you, Matt.
You're very welcome.
Well
Thanks.
done.
Oh, a few months ago, I think time before last I was here, I'd mentioned, I don't know how it's gonna work with surplusing the stuff that's in the storage unit out back and the hose tower. Fire Prevention Week is starting this Sunday, October 6th, runs through October 13th. Was considering doing an open house in the afternoon of that Saturday, but a work detail in the morning, so that'd be October 13th. I didn't know what process might be to get a few reps from the board down there to review what was in the storage unit so things could find a new home, whether it's the transfer station or somewhere else.
So what day are you looking to do that?
13?
Probably the morning of October 13th
The 13th?
It's a Saturday, right?
would be next Saturday. And that would be kind of cleaning up a little bit and then having an open house in the afternoon.
So I
ties
won't
with-
have to work, I can come down and watch.
Yes. And give your blessing to this can go and that can stay.
I did, go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I think, at least from my point of view, whatever you tell us you don't need that you'd like to surplus is going to be what I think should be surplus, not knowing much differently.
Okay, perfect.
What time do you want us there? Get
Probably by
breakfast
9
first?
o'clock, we might,
O'clock.
that's why, Cindy, you don't have to be there at 7. You can be there at 9 and review what's been dug out.
I do have one other, maybe this isn't the place to bring it up, but two people have asked me where the compressor?
The old compressor, is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Did you replace a compressor?
Yes, the one in the firehouse was replaced. I've had interest from one individual in the old compressor, but I guess that would fall along with the surplus, whatever the process is.
Yeah, I think we should, because I know there was talk that maybe it could be used in another town building, unless it's not. Like I said, I got two different calls about it and want to go to the source to find out.
Yep, I know it's sitting out behind the firehouse. I believe the building inspector assisted with his little tractor when that was replaced to get it out back from, I was doing inspections at the fair on Wednesday, so I wasn't there when it was replaced.
Oh, okay.
But I know it's under a tarp out back.
So it is available to be surplus properly?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're
I have
very
a
welcome.
question, was that, I thought that was supposed to be a stand-up tank.
Originally, the ones we were looking at were, by the time we had finalized the one I was looking at for the $5,200 with install, that brand, if you will, was no longer available through the company. The other ones they supplied were splash lubricated, not pressure lubricated. The recommendations I got from building maintenance supervisor and the building inspector were pressure lubricated. They had offered the model we have now, which is oil-less, at the same price that we had looked at for the 120 PSI equivalent of what we were replacing. Originally, a little hesitant from comments I'd gotten about someone's past experience with oilless. The individual did some research for me and kind of came to the conclusion that 20 years ago, things have changed. There's less service, life expectancy for us would be the same, and it keeps oil, its oilless system, keeps oil from going through the airlines to the trucks, and also if we were ever to be so fortunate enough to have a new station, a poly-vent air system for the exhaust kind of keeps everything a lot cleaner.
But
So-
that didn't, they don't come in the stand-up version?
The one they had was that one, and that's one they had in stock, and that was equivalent to the 120 gallon unit we were replacing.
Thank you.
Yep.
See you on the 13th.
Excellent.
Andy?
Before we're done with budgets, if the group doesn't mind, I'd like to bring up the library budget.
Okay.
The library trustees, several of them had asked if I could stop by their meeting and listen to their concerns about budgeting for the library and bring it back to the board. So I said that I would. And they're meeting tonight at 7 o'clock. And I think the gist of the conversation is going to come down to, does the board consider the library a town building that we take care of? Does the board consider the town library a town building that we just take care of the exterior of? Or does the board consider the town library to be the domain of the library trustees and they should be budgeting and taking care of it however they see fit? And I know, from my experience on the board, we've done a little of both over the years. For a while, the library had their own maintenance person, mowed their lawn, unplugged their toilets, changed their light bulbs, that sort of thing. For a while, our person did that. I think it's gotten confused over the years. The library trustees clearly have, by statute, the right to maintain and run the building as they see fit, completely on their own, but it's always been a cooperative effort between the Board of Selectmen and the trustees. And I think the present Board of Trustees is just scratching their head a little bit as to how the board might want to proceed and how they should be budgeting. There's also, they brought up the, and I don't know the correct terms probably, but the fire inspection that we had, and recommendations. They're concerned that there might be recommendations they're not aware of right now that they need to budget for, and they want to know what the board can offer them there as well. So I don't know if the group has any insight, if they want me to go be a sounding board and bring back.
Do they have a preference, Andy?
At this point, I don't know. I think there's been a little bit of tension between, them thinking maybe they can call and get Ray to run down and do some stuff, but Ray is not, we haven't budgeted for him to necessarily be doing much at the library. And the other factor is Ray is a 29-hour employee, and I assume that he wants to remain in that time frame given his retirement status.
Yeah.
So we can't necessarily offer Ray, for an additional 15 or 20 hours if that was the...
What has the split been in the past?
Well, as I said, for a while, they had their own person. They've had a couple of people in a row that did, snow removal, lawn mowing, painting, that sort of thing for them. I think for the past couple of years, prior to Ray, Mark Tibbetts sort of overlapped and did what they asked him to. The highway department has helped out a little when we've had projects there, like the front steps, for example. The town has funded some of the projects. I think the French drain that was installed to help with better drainage was, as I recall, supported by this board. And we've talked about the slate roof repairs off and on too. They usually budget a small amount for that. But it's been sort of a hodgepodge, and it's probably time to talk with the library trustees and figure out exactly how we'd like to proceed. But
Why don't you get their input,
all right.
and then we can deal with it.
I will say, I think the norm in most communities is that the Board of Selectmen worries about the exterior of the building and the grounds and leaves the, obviously the management of the library, but the interior,
Up to them.
budgeting, that sort of thing, up to the trustees.
Very good.
Well, if that's, was there a fire inspection issue in there? I mean, that would fall under us too, if there was
Well,
a
no,
safety.
The Library Board of Trustees is a unique animal as far as municipal departments go. They have their own set of RSAs, and basically we control the bottom line of their budget, but technically they're responsible for insuring the library, maintaining the library. They are solely responsible for employee benefits, salary, everything else with the library. They have generally agreed that they would like to have their employees considered municipal employees and included in the health insurance, that sort of thing. But they can be as independent, really, as they want to be. And I think
Well, can we make it, like we said, interior and exterior? So outside the building is our budget and interior is the director's?
yeah, I think we could certainly do that.
Be something to run by him.
And, there's also the possibility of, we tell them, look, you can use our people, but we're going to bill your department for the expenditures, although that gets a little more complicated with Ray's, Ray's a part-time employee who doesn't necessarily want additional hours.
Right.
And as to the fire report, I don't know if there are any significant, I don't know if John or the chief could speak to that. I think that's one of their budget concerns, is they're not sure if they should be budgeting to make specific improvements to the library based on fire concerns. Thanks, man.
I was more interested in the building maintenance line on my end. That's why I stayed to listen. But yeah, we had asked the fire marshal's office to come in and assist with doing an overall safety inspection, if you will, of all the municipal buildings here in the center of town here. There is quite a list of improvements that need to get done. My opinion would be the ones we need to focus on first, or my recommendation to the town as fire chief would be start with those for detection and annunciation, if you will, first. That way, if there was a fire, we can know about the fire, find the fire, and get everybody out of the building first. Unfortunately, I had to leave to go to a fire in Barrington the day the fire marshal's rep was here in this building and a few others. So talking with John, I'll be getting a letter to the board with respect to basically agreeing with the recommendations from the outside contractor the town used, RB Lewis, for system improvements, as well as some comments from conversations the fire marshal's office and myself have had in regards to where we might want to start this list. My feeling would be similar to how the George B. White was updated, if you will, we pick a list of safety priorities and work towards that. There were concerns at the library that also need to be addressed, and maybe if we pick a couple from the George B. White and one from the library, because those are probably the more public places. The ones, if I remember correctly, at the town hall were less towards the top of the list, because that building's already sprinklered. When you have a sprinkler building, a lot of the concerns are alleviated.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Just off the top of your head, Matt, do you foresee anything that would endanger the library being able to be open, or would be a thousands and thousands of dollars expense that has to be done immediately there?
I know one of the largest concerns would be a second means of egress out of the basement of the library. And getting into a historic building, that's probably going to be an expensive maneuver. I would say probably the first step, if I remember correctly, there was some deficiencies in the basement or the alarm system in general, with detection and notification. So that might be the first step. So if there was a fire, people can find it and get out first, and then work on a way to possibly modify a second means of egress out of the basement.
So I'm assuming that if we get input from RB Lewis, we're going to have some rough idea maybe of costs to go along with that.
That's where we are now. We have a full list of their recommendations for every building, including the library. What we're waiting on is individual cost out detail of each of those improvements. If memory serves me, I don't have the list in front of me. I know one of their primary concerns was the lack of a pull station at the library, and
I believe so.
and enunciation, as Matt pointed out.
Yep.
And at the time the inspection was done, they were using one of the rooms as a public reading room, and I believe Karen has since, before she departed, stopped the public use of that building. That was the main cause of the concern, is having no second means of egress out of that room.
Basement.
Right. So I think they've left it to just the public room with the access out the back towards the elevator. And I agree with Matt, we need to prioritize what are the biggest concerns first and work down the list.
Is that building sprinkled?
The town hall is, I believe, the only municipal building besides the school that has a sprinkler system.
The library is not.
No. I believe another one of the concerns was basically a sprinkler over the furnace, which is common in residential applications. So that'd be or I want to say there was, with the furnace down in the basement, there was sprinklered, or make it
Rated room.
fire rated, yeah, sorry. Been a long weekend.
Yeah. We all set then?
Yeah, thank you, Matt. That definitely gives me something
I
that I can
found-
relate to them.
I found my note, Matt. The highway department was wondering about the compressor for down in the new building down back. I guess they're trying to, they wouldn't have to run vehicles up front to put air and tires in that if they had one.
Okay.
So can you check with them?
Absolutely. That'd be similar to the generator. That's when we can get a hole in the back wall and remove the existing generator and get a plan to fix the mold in the roof on the back of the station.
Okay.
Get that over there. That'd be certainly easier just to keep it within the town.
If we can use, if they can use it, it'd be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Review of outstanding minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as prepared.
Second.
September 24th, sorry, I didn't say that. So we have Fred and Jeff, their second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Accounts payable this week is $61,695.63.
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable manifest.
Second?
Fred and Andy, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We have two personal action requests for the Parks and Rec Department. The first one is for Timothy Hauser for staff and after-school program at $8 an hour, and Alicia Papalato, Parks and Rec, after-school staff at $8.
I would make a recommendation that we authorize the chairman to sign both personnel action requests and note that those are, I believe, new hires for Parks and Rec.
Second.
Second by Jeff, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Will this help out with the wait list on
Yes.
some of the families and getting the kids in the after-school program?
Not completely, but it did take some children off the list.
Good.
We're still in the process of hiring more staff.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the issue, just so you're aware, is that they only work so many days a week too, so you can't take them for 5 days because the staff is flexing.
And the only other correspondence I have is Matthew Fisher, Upon recommendation of the Board of Selectmen and further approval of the Forest Ranger Mike Mattson, I hereby appoint you Forest Fire Warden for the town of Deerfield with a term ending December 31st, 2021. So that's all set. Town Administrator.
I have a number of items and changes to the budget presentations, if the board would like to make a note of this. I was asked by the town clerk to move the town meeting election to the October 22nd meeting for her budget review. Emergency management, welfare, and social service agencies also moved to October 15th instead of what's in your schedule.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you. Unfinished, new, or other? Fred?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I was making a trip to Raymond on Saturday, around 10 o'clock in the morning, and I came to the intersection with 107 and Cotton Road, and obviously with the great weather that we had, there was all kinds of people going to the fair, but there was nobody there at that intersection handling traffic control. And the traffic was backed up from that point to the self-storage buildings in Raymond on 27.
Yeah, they called and said it was by Radio Grove.
It was past Radio Grove,
Past it.
yeah. So it, I don't know how much having somebody there would have helped out with that traffic, but it just surprised me that there was nobody there to handle the traffic and try and have traffic move a little bit better than what it was moving. Is that something that the fair would be submitting to our chief to review and?
Believe me, he heard about it
Okay.
loud and clear. The good weather just turned things
Oh, yeah,
way
absolutely.
beyond what they had the manpower for. Yeah.
It seemed like they weren't at the intersection. There was no police or sheriff's presence at the intersections getting people in and out. You know, usually there's somebody at all the entrances, but I don't know.
I noticed that on Friday, late Friday afternoon, early Friday evening, coming out of the, whatever gate it is that's downhill
By the horse pull.
by the horse pull. There was absolutely nobody there at all.
Right.
And in the past, there have been people there
Right.
to control
That's a
traffic.
dangerous hill, and they were
It is.
real scary about putting somebody there. They weren't supposed to be bringing that much traffic down through there. So I don't know if
Way
that
around
was
to
the
the
issue.
parking
That's
lot.
a dangerous spot.
They did have people there on Sunday, I know.
Can you bring that up, Cindy, with your next directors meeting?
Oh, I'm sure it's gonna be brought up.
Thanks, Fred. Any other new or other business from the board? Jeff?
Just like to follow up on the tailgate trunk or treat. This year, we're requiring or asking residents to get a sticker. And they
Good.
can get that at Deerfield Parks and Rec. There's we're gonna try to restrict for Deerfield residents only, and also a time to come in, set up, and go out. It's not gonna be a free in and free out. You're gonna have to wait till we close the place and allow people in and out. We will have a police detail there too to help try to control it and see how it goes this year with getting a sticker
Okay.
to get in and out.
Who's given the sticker?
Parks and Rec.
So you have to go see Park and Recs, get a sticker,
Yeah, whatever they offer. I'm not sure, a sticker or some,
but not there. You're not gonna
Correct.
drive up and ask for a
No.
sticker.
to get it prior. Yeah, thank you for,
So you'll get the word out to the town people?
it's out there now,
Okay.
as best we
I
can.
just heard there was a change. I didn't know what
Yeah.
it meant.
It's actually a dashboard card. It's a piece of paper that explains the time, all the parameters of how to get in, when the gate will be closed, and that you need to have this ticket in order to get in.
There's been a pretty thorough discussion of the new
Yes.
process.
And it's been posted just about in every social media place we have, and it's on the town website.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Citizens' comments, if there's any? Mrs. Katie?
two things. The social media for the town. I don't know who's supposed to keep the website up to date, but I go in and I look, and there was a posting for a position open from 2015. There's, on one of the boards, there's, it's just not being kept current. And maybe we need to assign a job to a person to make sure that's done. Where to get help in an emergency on the town's website, because people that needed water when last year's storm hit didn't know where to go to get water, talking to me. That was one. And the other thing is, you may have had trouble, Fred, but it took me an hour to go from Roger Hodgkin's house down to the store. And I went through the parking lot, and I couldn't believe there was no police officer at the intersection of 43 and 107. 107 was backed up to Jack Sullivan's old place, the Boy Scout, old Boy Scout place. And I couldn't believe no police officer at these intersections. I don't know if that was the fair's responsibility or the town's, but I believe the town should have been responsible for any main road or intersection. It just was an hour of traffic sitting bumper to bumper, and people giving up and turning around and going back to Northwood and causing scary. I mean, cars are coming and you got a car that's turned out of the line across the road. It was just awful watching it. So I think the planning should start now. Who's going to be responsible for the intersections in Deerfield? And how is it going to be handled? Are we going to put on extra police? Whatever. It needs to be done. That was unbelievable. Thank God I could go through the store parking lot and go up the road and get onto Old Center. I had gone to Portsmouth to get my glasses and couldn't believe at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, traffic was backed up to Roger Harkins.
Wow.
That was Saturday.
Thank you. Fred?
Yeah, as a follow-on to what Mrs. Katie said, I heard somebody from Durham who had stayed in line on 43 for 20 minutes and just gave up and was one of the people turning around and heading back because of the traffic.
It will be discussed, I'm sure.
Well, Fair lost customers. The town got sworn at so many times it wasn't funny, I guarantee you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
6:29, thank you, everybody.
You get a week off.
No selectmen from Candy at called me.
What's that, right?